I was called infertile by my mother-in-law, and my wife supported her in painting me bad, so I divorced her, married her cousin, and became a father to twins. I never thought I'd be sharing my life story on Reddit, but here I am, desperately seeking advice from strangers on the internet. I'm a 35-year-old guy, and my life has turned into a soap opera that I never signed up for. Let me start from the beginning. I met my wife, Evelyn, during our sophomore year of college. We were both studying business, and we ended up in the same group project for our marketing class. Evelyn was this whirlwind of energy and ambition. She had her whole life planned out: graduate with honors, land a job at a top firm, climb the corporate ladder, and eventually start her own company. I was more of a go-with-the-flow kind of guy, but her drive inspired me. We started dating a few months later, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had direction. Evelyn pushed me to be better, to want more for myself. We graduated together, both landing decent entry-level jobs at competing firms. Those first few years were tough: long hours, tight budgets, and barely any time together. But we made it work. 3 years into our relationship, I proposed. I'd been saving up for months to buy the perfect ring. I had this whole romantic evening planned: a fancy dinner, a walk in the park where we had our first kiss, and then popping the question under the stars. But life had other plans. The day I was going to propose, Evelyn called me in tears. She'd been passed over for a promotion she'd been working towards for months. She was devastated, questioning her career choices and her worth. I scrapped my elaborate plan and instead showed up at her apartment with her favorite takeout and a bottle of wine. As we sat on her tiny balcony, commiserating about the unfairness of corporate life, I realized there would never be a more perfect moment. I pulled out the ring and asked her to marry me right there, both of us in our work clothes, surrounded by empty takeout containers. Evelyn said yes, and for a moment, everything was perfect. Then came the wedding planning, and with it, my first real encounter with Karen, Evelyn's mother. I'd met Karen a few times before, but always in group settings where she was on her best behavior. Now, faced with planning her only daughter's wedding, Karen's true colors came out. Nothing was ever good enough. The venue was too small, the food too exotic, the music too modern. She criticized every decision we made, from the color of the tablecloths to the style of my tuxedo. Evelyn tried to mediate, but it was clear she was struggling to stand up to her mother. The breaking point came when Karen insisted we invite Evelyn's ex-boyfriend, Tom. Apparently, Tom's parents were old family friends, and it would be rude not to include them. I put my foot down, and to my surprise, Evelyn backed me up. It was the first time I saw her really stand up to her mother, and I was proud of her. The wedding itself was beautiful, despite Karen's best efforts to micromanage every detail. Evelyn was radiant, and as we said our vows, I truly believed we could handle anything life threw at us. The first few years of our marriage were good. We both advanced in our careers, bought a small house in the suburbs, and started talking about having kids. Evelyn wanted to wait until we were more financially stable, which I understood. We were doing well, but kids are expensive, and Evelyn had big plans for her career. Around our 5th wedding anniversary, I started feeling ready for fatherhood. My brother had just had his second child, and seeing him with his kids awakened something in me. I broached the subject with Evelyn, but she was hesitant. She was up for a big promotion and didn't want to jeopardize it with a pregnancy. I tried to be patient, but as another year passed, I couldn't help feeling like our life was on hold. We had endless discussions about the right time to have a baby, but there was always another reason to wait: a big project at work, a planned vacation, a possible job change. Finally, 2 years ago, Evelyn agreed it was time. We were both excited, imagining nursery colors and debating baby names. But as months passed with no positive pregnancy test, our excitement turned to worry. After a year of trying, we decided to see a fertility specialist. The doctor suggested we both get tested to rule out any issues. I went for my tests right away, eager to get answers. My results came back normal, which was a relief, but also added to the pressure on Evelyn. Evelyn, however, kept putting off her appointments. At first, it was understandable. She had a big presentation at work. Then she caught a nasty flu. But as weeks turned into months, I started to get frustrated. Every time I brought it up, Evelyn would get defensive or change the subject. That's when Karen started getting involved. She'd call Evelyn constantly, asking if there was any news. When Evelyn would visit her parents, she'd come home upset, saying Karen had been pressuring her about grandchildren. I tried to be supportive, but I couldn't help feeling like Evelyn was letting her mother have too much influence over our lives. Things came to a head last Thanksgiving. We were at Karen's house, surrounded by family. Karen had been drinking wine all afternoon and was in rare form. She started going on about how all her friends were becoming grandmothers, and how she was starting to feel left out. Then she looked right at me and said, "It's a shame Evelyn married someone who can't give her children. I always knew you weren't man enough." The room went silent. I felt like I'd been slapped. Evelyn just sat there, staring at her plate. I tried to explain that we were still trying, that these things take time, but Karen wouldn't let up. She kept making jabs about my masculinity, saying Evelyn should have married Tom instead. At least he came from good stock. I couldn't take it anymore. All the frustration from the past year came pouring out. I stood up and told everyone at the table that I wasn't the problem. My fertility tests had come back normal. It was Evelyn who hadn't even bothered to get tested yet. The aftermath was ugly. Evelyn was furious with me for betraying her trust. Karen was on the warpath, calling me every name in the book. I left the house and spent the night in a hotel trying to figure out where we went wrong. When I got home the next day, Evelyn was still angry. She accused me of humiliating her in front of her family. I tried to explain that I couldn't stand being blamed and shamed for something that wasn't my fault, but she wouldn't listen. Things have been tense ever since. Evelyn still refuses to get tested, and now she's giving me the cold shoulder. Karen has been calling and texting non-stop, demanding I apologize to Evelyn and her. I've blocked her number, but she just keeps finding new ways to harass me. I don't know what to do. I love Evelyn, but I'm starting to wonder if we want the same things in life. I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, trying not to upset her or incur Karen's wrath. To make matters more complicated, Evelyn's cousin Emma reached out to me yesterday. Emma and I have always gotten along well. She's a few years younger than us, and she's always been the black sheep of the family, choosing to become a teacher instead of going into the family business like Evelyn did. Emma said she overheard what happened at Thanksgiving and wanted to check if I was okay. We ended up talking for hours. It was nice to have someone on my side for once, someone who understood how overbearing Karen could be. Now I'm at a crossroads. Part of me wants to fight for my marriage, to try and get Evelyn to see how toxic her relationship with her mother is. But another part is wondering if it's time to cut my losses. I'm 35 years old, and I want to be a father. I don't want to wake up at 45, bitter and childless, resenting Evelyn for robbing me of the chance to have a family. I never thought I'd be in this position. Any advice would be appreciated. Am I the asshole for defending myself? Should I have just kept quiet and let Karen continue to berate me? How do I get Evelyn to see that her mother's behavior is destroying our marriage? Update 1. It's been a month since my original post, and to say a lot has happened would be an understatement. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. Your comments really helped me gain some perspective on my situation. After reading through your responses, I realized I needed to have a serious conversation with Evelyn. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, with unspoken tensions and resentments building between us. I decided to take a day off work and asked Evelyn to do the same. I wanted us to have time to really talk without any distractions. That morning, I made Evelyn's favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup. It was something I used to do every Sunday when we first got married, but somewhere along the line, we'd stopped making time for those little gestures. As we sat at our kitchen table, the familiar smell of pancakes in the air, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe we could find our way back to each other. I started by apologizing for my outburst at Thanksgiving. I explained that while I regretted the way I handled it, I couldn't apologize for the feelings behind it. I told Evelyn how hurt I was by her silence, how I felt unsupported and blamed for something that wasn't my fault. To my surprise, Evelyn broke down. Through her tears, she confessed that she'd actually gotten tested months ago and found out she had some fertility issues. She was afraid to tell me because she thought I might leave her. She'd been carrying this secret for months, letting me think she was just procrastinating on the tests. I was shocked and hurt that she'd kept this from me, but I tried to be understanding. I asked her why she thought I would leave her over this, and her answer broke my heart. She said that growing up, her mother always emphasized that a woman's worth was tied to her ability to have children. Karen had drilled into Evelyn's head that if she couldn't give her husband children, he would inevitably leave her for someone who could. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. So many of Evelyn's actions over the past year suddenly made sense. Her reluctance to get tested, her defensiveness whenever I brought up kids, her silence in the face of her mother's attacks on me. It all stemmed from this deep-seated fear that she wasn't woman enough. We spent hours talking that day, really opening up to each other in a way we hadn't in years. We agreed to start couples counseling to work on our communication and to help Evelyn work through some of the damaging beliefs her mother had instilled in her. We even started researching adoption and IVF options, feeling like we were finally on the same page about our future. For a few weeks, things were looking up. Our counseling sessions were going well, and Evelyn seemed more relaxed and happier than she had in months. We were connecting again, rediscovering the love that had gotten lost under all the stress and resentment. But then, Karen got involved again. Somehow, she found out about Evelyn's fertility issues. I suspect Evelyn's sister might have let it slip. She's always been a bit of a gossip. Instead of being supportive of her daughter during this difficult time, Karen went on a rampage. She started calling me daily, leaving long, rambling voicemails blaming me for stressing Evelyn out and causing her fertility problems. She'd say things like, "If you were a real man, you'd have given her a baby by now." And, "I always knew you weren't good enough for her." I tried to block her number, but she'd just use a different phone to call. Then she started showing up at our house unannounced, demanding to speak to Evelyn alone. The first time it happened, I came home from work to find Evelyn in tears on the couch, with Karen pacing around our living room ranting about how we needed to try harder, how Evelyn wasn't doing enough to fix herself. I asked Evelyn to set boundaries with her mother, but she always had an excuse. "That's just how Mom is," she'd say, or "She's just worried about me." It was like we were right back where we started, with Evelyn unable to stand up to her mother and me feeling like an outsider in my own marriage. Things came to a head last week. I came home from work early, hoping to surprise Evelyn with tickets to a concert she'd been wanting to see. Instead, I walked in to find Karen in our living room, going through our personal documents. She said she was looking for our medical records because she didn't believe Evelyn really had fertility issues. She thought we were lying to cover up my inadequacies. I lost it. I told Karen to get out of our house and stay out of our business. I told her that her behavior was toxic and that she was destroying her relationship with her daughter. Evelyn, instead of backing me up, started crying and saying I was being too harsh on her mom. That night, after Karen left, Evelyn and I had a huge fight. I told her I couldn't keep living like this, with her mother constantly interfering in our lives and Evelyn allowing it. I said I felt like I was married to both of them, not just Evelyn. Evelyn accused me of being selfish and not understanding how difficult this was for her. In the heat of the moment, I said something I regret. I told Evelyn that if she couldn't stand up to her mother, maybe she wasn't ready to be a mother herself. It was a low blow, and I knew it as soon as the words left my mouth. Evelyn slapped me, then locked herself in our bedroom. I spent the night on the couch, feeling lost and confused. The next morning, Evelyn was gone. She left a note saying she was going to stay with her parents for a while to clear her head. It's been 5 days and I haven't heard from her. Karen, on the other hand, has been blowing up my phone with angry messages. She's telling everyone who will listen that I kicked Evelyn out and abandoned her. Some of Evelyn's relatives have been calling me, demanding to know why I'm abusing Evelyn. It feels like I'm living in some sort of twisted, alternate reality where I'm the bad guy for wanting a healthy relationship with my wife. I'm at my wit's end. I love Evelyn, but I don't know if I can continue living like this. The stress is affecting my work. I've been distracted and irritable, and my boss has noticed. My health is suffering too. I've lost weight, I'm not sleeping well, and I feel like I'm constantly on edge. Emma has been a great support through all of this. She's been checking in on me, bringing me meals, and just lending an ear when I need to vent. She understands the family dynamics better than anyone, having grown up with them. She's told me stories about how Karen treated her when she decided to become a teacher instead of going into the family business. It's helped me understand Evelyn's behavior better, but it's also made me realize how deeply ingrained these toxic patterns are. I'm grateful for Emma's friendship, but I can't help feeling guilty about how close we've become. There's nothing inappropriate going on, but I know how it might look to others, especially given how Karen's been painting me as the villain in all this. I'm considering asking Evelyn for a trial separation. I think we both need some space to figure out what we really want and if we can make this marriage work. But I'm afraid of what Karen might do if I suggest this. I wouldn't put it past her to try and turn the entire family against me. I never thought I'd be in this situation. I always believed that love was enough, that if you cared about someone, you could work through anything. Now I'm not so sure. I feel like I'm drowning, and I don't know how to save myself, let alone my marriage. Any advice on how to proceed would be appreciated. How do I protect myself without completely burning bridges. Is there any hope for Evelyn and me, or am I just prolonging the inevitable? And how do I deal with Karen's smear campaign against me? I'm feeling pretty lost right now, and any guidance would be welcome. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and my life has completely turned upside down. I'm still trying to process everything that's happened, but I'll do my best to fill you all in. After Evelyn left, I tried to give her space. I thought maybe some time apart would help us both clear our heads and figure out what we really wanted. But as days turned into weeks, I realized something had fundamentally changed in our relationship. During this time, I threw myself into work and started seeing a therapist on my own. It was helping me gain perspective on my marriage and my own role in our problems. I realized that while Karen was a huge issue, Evelyn and I had our own communication problems that predated her interference. About a month after she left, Evelyn finally reached out. She wanted to meet at the cafe where we had our first date. I was hopeful that we could work things out, but that hope was quickly shattered. When I arrived at the cafe, Evelyn was already there, sitting at our old favorite table by the window. She looked tired and sad, but there was a resolve in her eyes that I'd never seen before. We ordered our usual drinks, a latte for her, black coffee for me, and for a moment, it felt like old times. But then Evelyn started talking, and I realized this wasn't going to be the reconciliation I'd hoped for. She told me she'd been doing a lot of thinking, and she didn't want to continue our marriage. She said she felt like we wanted different things in life, and that the stress of the past few months had shown her that we weren't compatible. I was stunned. I asked about couples counseling, about working on our communication, but Evelyn had made up her mind. She said she'd realized that she wasn't ready for children and might never be. She knew how important being a father was to me, and she didn't want to hold me back from that. What hurt the most was when she admitted that Karen had been a major influence in her decision. Apparently, Karen had convinced Evelyn that I was emotionally abusive and that she deserved better. Evelyn actually apologized for letting me mistreat her for so long. It was like she was parroting Karen's words, and I couldn't recognize the woman I'd married. Evelyn handed me divorce papers, already signed. She said her lawyer would be in touch about dividing our assets. Then she got up and left, leaving me sitting there with a cold coffee and the ruins of my marriage. The next few weeks were a blur. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the pain. I stopped answering calls from Evelyn's family members, tired of defending myself against Karen's lies. My own family was supportive, but they lived across the country and couldn't offer much practical help. Emma was there for me through it all. She'd come over with takeout, force me to go for walks, and just sit with me when I needed company. She understood the family dynamics in a way no one else did, and it was comforting to talk to someone who knew exactly how manipulative Karen could be. As I spent more time with Emma, I started to see her in a different light. She was kind, supportive, and seemed to understand me in a way Evelyn never had. I found myself looking forward to our time together, feeling lighter and happier in her presence. One night, after a few too many beers, Emma confessed that she'd had feelings for me for years. She said she never acted on them out of respect for Evelyn, but now that we were getting divorced, she couldn't keep it in anymore. I was conflicted. Part of me felt like it was too soon, that I should be grieving my marriage, but another part recognized that Emma made me happier than I'd been in a long time. We agreed to take things slow, to give ourselves time to figure out if this was real or just a reaction to everything that had happened. We started dating quietly. I know it's not conventional, dating your soon-to-be ex-wife's cousin, but it felt right. Emma understood my pain and my history in a way no one else could. She encouraged me to keep going to therapy, to work through my feelings about the divorce and my fears about starting a new relationship. Of course, when Evelyn and Karen found out, all hell broke loose. Karen started spreading rumors about me and the family, saying I'd been cheating on Evelyn with Emma all along. Some family members who had previously been sympathetic to me now turned cold, believing Karen's lies. Evelyn was hurt and angry, accusing me of moving on too quickly. The irony of Evelyn being upset about me moving on when she's the one who left and filed for divorce wasn't lost on me. But I was done letting Karen and Evelyn control my life and my happiness. I know this update might make me sound like the bad guy, but I'm finally putting myself first. Emma and I are happy, and we're taking things one day at a time. The divorce is moving forward, and while it's painful, I'm actually feeling optimistic about the future for the first time in a long time. It's not the life I imagined for myself, but maybe it's the life I need. I'm learning to trust my own feelings and needs rather than constantly trying to appease others. It's a work in progress, but I'm getting there. Update 3. It's been a year since my last update, and what a year it's been. I never could have predicted where life would take me, but I'm happier now than I've been in a long time. The divorce was finalized 6 months ago. It wasn't easy. Karen tried to contest it, claiming I had been unfaithful throughout the marriage. Thankfully, my lawyer was able to disprove these allegations, and the judge saw through Karen's attempts to manipulate the proceedings. In the end, we settled on a fair division of assets, and I was able to keep the house. Emma and I are still together, and our relationship has only grown stronger. We moved in together 4 months ago, and it's been amazing. She understands me in a way Evelyn never did, and we communicate openly about everything. We've had our challenges, of course. Blending our lives hasn't always been smooth sailing, but we face everything as a team. The biggest news, though, is that Emma is pregnant, with twins. We found out a couple of months ago, and we're over the moon. It's ironic, considering all the fertility struggles with Evelyn. But I guess life has a way of surprising you. We weren't actively trying, but we weren't preventing it either. When Emma showed me the positive test, I felt a mix of joy, excitement, and fear that I'd never experienced before. We're converting the spare room into a nursery, and Emma's been reading every parenting book she can get her hands on. I'm nervous about becoming a father, especially to twins, but I'm also excited. Emma's calm confidence is reassuring. She keeps reminding me that we'll figure it out together. When we announced the pregnancy to our families, the reactions were mixed. Emma's parents were thrilled, but of course, Karen hit the roof. She started spreading more rumors, saying Emma had stolen me from Evelyn and trapped me with a pregnancy. It's ridiculous, but some people seem to believe her. Evelyn's reaction was unexpected. She reached out to me directly for the first time since the divorce. She congratulated us, but also expressed how hurt she was. I could understand her pain, and part of me felt guilty. But I also knew I couldn't live my life based on Evelyn's feelings anymore. We had a long, honest conversation that gave us both some closure. She admitted that she'd let her mother influence her too much, and that she regretted how things had ended between us. The pregnancy news seemed to be a wake-up call for Evelyn. She finally stood up to Karen, telling her to stop spreading lies about me and Emma. It was too little, too late for our relationship, but I appreciated it nonetheless. Evelyn and I aren't friends, but we're civil now, which is more than I expected. Karen tried to cause trouble one last time. She showed up at our house unannounced, demanding to speak to Emma. She tried to convince Emma that I would abandon her and the babies, just like I abandoned Evelyn. Emma, bless her, stood her ground and told Karen in no uncertain terms to stay out of our lives. I'm proud of how Emma handled the situation. She's strong in a quiet way, always sure of herself and our relationship. It's refreshing after years of walking on eggshells with Evelyn and Karen. As for me, I'm still in therapy, working through my issues from the marriage and preparing for fatherhood. I've reconnected with old friends who had drifted away during my marriage, and I'm building a support system independent of Emma's family. Work has been going well. I got a promotion a few months ago, which couldn't have come at a better time with the babies on the way. Emma's taking a year off from teaching after the twins are born, and my new salary will help us manage that. Looking back on everything that's happened, it's been a wild ride. There were times when I thought my life was falling apart, but now I can see it was just falling into place. Emma and I are excited to start our family, and I'm looking forward to this new chapter in my life. I know this might not be the happy ending some people expected, but it's my happy ending. Life doesn't always go according to plan, but sometimes the unexpected turns lead us exactly where we need to be. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned, even the painful ones, and I'm looking forward to the future with hope and optimism.